Now over to the new thing. In this section, we'll look at the first way to use LPs, namely by rounding these fractional solutions. But let me take a step back before we get to that. We usually think of hard optimization problems in this chapter. And it turns out that these integer linear programs, they're NP complete. So you can embed every possible NP problem somehow as an ILP. So in a way, if we find good techniques to work on ILPs, that's going to solve all problems. But yeah, usually we have to work a bit problem specific. But we'll keep that in mind, that it's potentially very powerful. The hard bit in approximation algorithms, or in the design of approximation algorithm, often is that you don't know how good the optimal solution is. And so having some way to bound the optimal solution, it cannot be better than some value, is super helpful. And there's an easy way to get that using the connection between ILPs and the LP relaxation. So the LP relaxation, I think I didn't have on the slides for the repetition, is just you take an ILP and you drop the integrality constraints, you replace them with just greater or equal 0. So the general approach could be you formulate your problem as an integer linear program, knowing that you're not going to solve this optimally in polynomial time. Then you just drop the integrality constraints, turn it into an LP, and you solve that one optimally, which we can do in poly time. So you get some optimal solution for this fractional one. And the cost that you get for the LP is going to bound the optimum cost of the original ILP, because you're only making the feasibility region bigger. You're allowing more solutions for X, so the cost cannot get worse. Now that's almost a cool algorithm, except that somehow we can't get a solution for the original problem in the general case. Like it's not obvious if there's a general approach for that. We somehow want to go back to a solution that's feasible for the original problem and not just the relaxed LP, right? Okay, but what could we do? A simple version is it's non-integral numbers. Let's just round them. And of course, this is easier than it sounds, because by arbitrarily rounding, you're not usually going to get a feasible solution. But sometimes you can. Even if you can, what will come up again, what we discussed back then, is this notion of an integrality gap, which is the difference, or the ratio, I should say, between the optimal objective value of the LP and the ILP. That's going to be a barrier for how good this approach in total can be, because you're trying to get some solution for the fractional one to get it back to the ILP. So you have to do something there. I guess it's not clear if you necessarily have to have an approximation ratio that's the integrality gap. Maybe you can do something smarter. All right, let's see this in concrete terms. And we'll return to our favorite set cover problem. Again, remember we have a ground set, and we have sets Sj that we want to pick some subset from. We have these S, still in dashed mode. The input was S, which is a collection of K subsets of this universe. We want to pick a subset of this collection of sets so that we have every element in the universe covered, so by one of the sets. And they have certain costs, so the goal is to minimize the cost. As an integer linear program, we can write this as xj, a variable that is 1 if the if this set Sj is part of the solution and 0 otherwise. Then this is going to get us the total cost of the cover we're picking. How do we enforce that it is a set cover? For every element in the universe, we sum over all the sets where this element is contained. That's this notation here, which we'll use a bunch in this chapter, so kind of memorize that one. V of E is the indices, so all the sets where E occurs. We sum over all those, and we require that at least one is 1. That's what the sum does if you restrict your numbers to integers. First of all, to have it in normal form, I wrote x is an integer or a natural number, but you can easily work out it never helps to make any of the entries of x bigger than 1. So an optimal solution will always be in 0, 1 to the k. That's the ILP. And you can relax that to a linear program if you just drop the integrality constraints and make it an x greater or equal 0. And for that, we can get a solution in polynomial time. And that's true in general. If we write the optimal objective value for the two problems with the subscript of the problem name, then the optimal value for the integral problem, it's the other way around, right? We're minimizing. So this is only going to be better than the integral problem. So we get a lower bound on the optimal solution. How do we make use of that? One option is to just round so conservatively that we're going to guarantee the solution is a feasible solution for the integral, for the integer linear program. And one way to do that is to take this frequency of any of the elements. So what's the largest number of sets that any element occurs in? That's what we call frequency. Then we take our optimal LP solution, some fractional solution, and we're going to pick all the sets where the variable is at least 1 over f. That's what I mean by round conservatively. We're rounding up way further, way earlier than we would normally think of rounding 0.5 up and everything else below rounding down. Here we're rounding up potentially much earlier if f is larger than 2. And so all of these we return, and that's our answer. Let's see how well this does. You can show it's an f approximation. We've seen that before, but still it's an entirely different algorithm. So I think it's kind of reassuring that we find the same approximation ratio. And remember, set cover generalizes vertex cover. So here I could even have written weighted vertex cover, where the vertices have some weight, not just counting the number of vertices. And there's a 2 approximation because in vertex cover, every edge occurs in exactly 2 neighborhoods or 2 incidence lists. Let's prove this quickly. We have 2 things to prove. First of all, that the algorithm even computes a valid set cover. And the second, the approximation ratio. To see that it's a set cover, take an arbitrary element from the universe. We have to show that it's covered in the solution. Now, we know that this x star, the optimal solution, it was feasible in the LP. And so in case you forgot, that's the LP, right? It's worth taking a picture. So it has to satisfy, in particular, this constraint for this specific E. So we have the empty sum is greater or equal 1. You're summing the values of these sets. Now, again, it's a fractional solution. So these could be any number between 0 and 1. You're never going to get larger numbers in an optimal solution. Okay. Now we know that every element occurs, well, in exactly FE sets. That's how we defined it, but in at most F for the global frequency. So one of these, if that's going to be true for your xj star, one of those xj star has to be bigger than 1 over F because they're all non-negative, right? Suppose they were all smaller, then you immediately get a violation of this. And so one of those, at least, is part of our output, and so E is covered. We could have several, right? In all of them could have value 1 over f, and then we cover E many times. That's okay. How about the cost? So we have to show that whatever the algorithm here outputs is an f approximation. Now we're using, so far this was only using the feasibility of x star. Now we're using that it's an optimal solution of the LP, which means we have this CTX, the optimal solution of the LP problem. And that's a lower bound on the optimal solution for the integral problem. And for all the sets that we picked, we have this lower bound on the xj entry, 1 over f. Otherwise, we wouldn't have picked that set. So we can use that to just bound the cost. We take the cost of our set that we pick. It's the sum of all the sets that and it's an f approximation because you can rewrite the cost of the solution we compute using what we know from the rounding as f times this sum. And that here you can upper bound by taking the value on all the sets, not just the one you picked. And that's essentially the optimal objective value of the fractional problem, or the LP problem. And we know that that's a lower bound on the one for the integral. So here we're just using this key fact here. And so we get what we wanted. The cost for the set we pick is at most f times the optimal solution. So it's another way to get the same kind of approximation guarantee we've seen before. Just as a quick argument, this is also in a way best possible. You can't, in the worst case, show something stronger. And an insightful instance to look at, I guess, not even for this example, for this algorithm, is the fully symmetric instance. Suppose we have some numbers f and n, so f is a divisor of n. And otherwise, they're arbitrary. Then you have the universe of these n elements, and you pick these specific sets, and you have n sets as well, so same number of elements and sets, and every set is just kind of, you shift around a circle. You take a certain fragment, and then the next element takes one more element, and so you shift that along. And by controlling the size, you can control in how many sets each element is contained. The cost can be set to 1 for all the sets. That's fine. If you solve the LP for this very symmetric instance, one optimal solution is where you get 1 over f for all the sets. And then the algorithm we've just discussed just outputs the entire collection of sets, whereas clearly you could have covered this the cycle by taking n divided f sets. So you're a factor f away from optimum, and there's not much you can do about this in that general sense.